I think you have to expand your definition of impact because if a company is very profitable, they might not be making a positive impact in the world. It might actually be the opposite.
Welcome to Impact Us All, the business podcast for making substantial change. I'm your host, Jimmy Newson, the Impact Influencer. Join me as I explore the stories, strategies, and insights of entrepreneurs, industry experts, and national and global brands that care. We focus on the initiatives that make a significant difference in communities around the world and bring you innovative techniques for overcoming challenges and barriers in your business journey. This is a place for real-world lessons, actionable advice, and inspiring insights to help you elevate your unique selling proposition for professional and personal growth. Stay tuned as we dive into this week's impactful strategies. Let's move forward together because together we can impact us all. In this episode, please allow me to introduce you to our amazing guest, Lisa Routel. Lisa is the Chief Strategy Officer at BioOx and Strategy and Marketing Lead at Verizon. So, without further ado, please welcome Lisa Routel. Hello all. I am so excited, and I say this all the time, but guess what? I'm an excited type of guy, and I like to continue to be excited. The moment I show up and say I'm not excited, that's when you all need to worry. So right now, I'm continuing my excitement because I get to talk to someone that I now consider a friend. We've shared quite a bit of time on stage all over the country, and at some point it will definitely be all over the world. And I've learned so much from her. I respect her, and I'm excited to introduce Lisa Routel. Lisa, thank you for agreeing to be on their show.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I consider you a friend as well, and I really appreciate the very kind words and the very kind introduction. So thank you.
Absolutely. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we roll here. You know what we do. I like to save the deep dive of the guest to the guest because they can definitely do a better job than myself. So before we get into impact and all the things we're going to talk about around impact, Lisa, if you can do us all a favor and just give us a bit of history about you because it's so rich and there's so many incredible things you're doing in so many different areas. Take us on a bit of a journey.
Absolutely. My journey has been unique in regards to my career. And I always say my skills, they unite where strategy, marketing, and then operations intersect. I feel I'm very multifaceted. And going back a bit, I started my career as a research scientist in the pharmaceutical industry. So I feel I've always been very data focused. And then I made a career transition to the business side of the house following business school, and now I currently have two roles. So right now I am at Verizon, the major telecom giant, and I'm responsible for developing and executing integrated omni-channel marketing campaigns and strategies. And for most of my career at Verizon, I was responsible for leading the Verizon Up loyalty platform. Mm-hmm. So that was unique, and it really was a first-in-class type of platform. At the time, it was entirely app-based, and it was a centralized hub for all of Verizon products and services like the Verizon Visa gift card, credit card, and then accessories. So very unique type of platform. And now, on top of that, I am the Chief Strategy Officer at BioOx. So BioOx is a unique startup. It's a health and wellness company, and it's based on the science of oxygen. So our founder was a renowned research scientist. He worked in a Nobel Prize winning lab, and he discovered something that we refer to as ROX, which stands for Reservoir of Oxygen. And it consists of highly concentrated bundles of oxygen, nitric oxide, and we have a whole family of products at this time. And we'll go into more of that later on, but I'm really excited to build this company and this new brand from the ground up in this, incorporating this new technology within these new categories. So overall, I feel very privileged to be aligned and associated with these iconic brands.
Sure. And what I'm really looking forward to in our conversation is working with both a startup, which is its own ecosystem, and a massive organization like Verizon can have a tremendous amount of different differentialities to them, and you get to live both. Yay to you! And that's exciting because you can really look at the full picture and really give a lot of our listeners a lot of insight from both perspectives, especially if they're making a transition from one to the other and vice versa. But before we go into that, I mean, you also have worked for some other major organizations as well. And just so people can get a breast of your experience, just give me a few more of those other names without having to go into what you did there.
Sure. Jaguar Land Rover, I spent several years there. Very exciting time because I launched new products, new categories, an SUV, electric vehicle. And then also prior to that, I worked at HBO. And that was also a unique time because we launched HBO Go. And that was the beginning stages of the whole streaming wars. So there was
I remember HBO Go.
HBO Go. And so these are, I feel very privileged again to be at these iconic brands at really an intersection where you really make a pivot and you see it, you adapt to those changes within the market and customer preferences and really are aligned with customer values. So yeah, Jaguar Land Rover and HBO, I spent time at both of those brands.
Yeah, and I love both of those brands. Definitely. They've earned their reputation. So, all right. So now let's get into impact. So let's now tie that into this entire conversation. So my first question is always, first of all, what does impact mean to you? So we have kind of like a baseline, and then we can start talking about impact in relationship to all of this stuff that's going on around us.
Well, I would say business impact in this simplest and most traditional form, I'll go back to that definition, really is the effect of your strategy framework, and then it leads to the tactics and ultimately your actions, which really drive value for customers and shareholders and relates to your business performance and your KPIs and those type of things. And there's a real tangible nature to this type of definition of impact, and it can be quantified. I mean, we see with marketing, say with A/B tests, treat versus control, action versus inaction, you see the difference in a very quantifiable way. However, I would say for me personally, I think of impact in a much broader sense and really in a more emotional sense. So quantitative and qualitative. And I think it's important to define impact in terms of more than just, say, the bottom line or net profit. And that can mean defining impact in terms of health and wellness and environmental impacts, cultural impacts, and also because I usually view business impact in terms of customer loyalty, especially with my experience at Verizon, emotional loyalty and emotional impacts your business has on customers really is a major form of measurement. So for Verizon specifically, and with Verizon Up as the platform, NPS, Net Promoter Score, that was always a major KPI for measuring impact for Verizon Up. And I would say then for BioOx, really what drew me to this company is that it is very mission-based and purpose-driven. And all the company's products are based on what I was referring to as ROX, that reservoir of oxygen. And oxygen keeps air, food, soil, and water clean from environmental toxins. So it also energizes our bodies and detoxifies our bodies. We become stronger because of it. So I would say at BioOx, our impact is most closely aligned with that broader definition, which again relates to health and wellness, environmental and cultural impact. And we quantify this impact with research studies. At BioOx, we've had several research studies at different universities where, say, we measure those ROX levels in people and we monitor their health. And recently we had pain management studies and hepatitis C studies with a major university, and we saw that impact. And also we have a bioreactor which purifies the air. And you see again with studies that direct impact of purifying the air. It's a new first in class with new technology, and also growth of plants with our grow product. This has a direct impact on agriculture. So we see more of a qualitative impact based on direct feedback from customers and how our products made a direct noticeable impact in their lives. So we have both that quantitative impact as well as qualitative. And for me, again, personally, it really is about being purpose driven.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there. And you really have broken down impact from so many different perspectives, we would have to, I mean, you're an impact guru as far as I'm concerned, because again, you're looking at it from so many different ways, and I guess that I'm hearing that key term is measurement, in regards to no matter what that impact is, how are you measuring that impact, and then what effect. So it's more of an equation for you.
Absolutely, it is an equation, a cause and effect. And you do see that in many ways. Like even what I was saying before, you can quantify emotions, say with net promoter scores. You do see with customers, are they advocates? You can see by sentiment with word of mouth. What are your customers saying online? And so you really want in that, say that net promoter score, like are they promoters, are they detractors? And you have to really see that balance to then see the overall impact you're making with your customers.
Right. I'm writing this down because this is actually cool. Impact is an equation.
It truly is.
Because I used to always say that, and I got to think about what I used to always say. I like equations because A plus B equals C. And so the question is, what's your A and what's your B? Which makes it now, the equation can now be unique to every single person that leverages it, because their A's and B's will always be different given them whatever their C should be.
Absolutely. And that's really a major driver behind our products at BioOx specifically, because really, I would say in the healthcare space specifically, trust is very important.
Okay.
What you're serving to customers, your product or service, is it valid? Does it have studies backing it? So at BioOx, we do have, say, those university research studies. We recently had pain management and hepatitis C, and we're trying to move forward with different customers in different segments. And also we had in the past as well studies on dogs with cancer with some of our products. So you start seeing that overall impact with different segments, and it's backed by real science. So, I mean, oxygen, it can be applied to many different types of people, even animals, different ailments, different illnesses, or you just want to be on top of your game. We were recently at a trade show for a fitness competition, and we saw right then and there people that focus on prime performance. They would drink our BioOxygen water. Just before someone entered a powerlifting competition, they took a shot of BioOxygen. So it can mean different things for different people. And we think in terms of customers and expanding into new categories, because our whole science, our foundation is oxygen. We started with the air scrubber, which purifies the air. And it's different than the air purifier. Air purifier will move air around, but it doesn't truly clean the air. Okay. Whereas with ours, we have, say, such a strong air scrubber that medical schools use it. within like the area, like for cadavers and those type of,
Whoa.
so where you really need pure air, even at dental schools, even at major universities where they have Olympic-sized pools to purify actually the air, because you have such strong chlorine that it purifies the air for those type of customers. So there is a different need as well. And we also have consumers that use a smaller size. So you can use it in many different capacities, and then expanding that same technology into different products. So we are moving, we still have B2B, but also then expanding into B2C.
Sure. And I'm gonna go a little off the beaten path a little bit because of your uniqueness, you are, or do you consider yourself a scientist? Is that because I know you, am I using the right thing here that you were at some point a scientist?
Yes, that was actually my first career. For several years, I worked for a major pharmaceutical company in their process development division. So I would scale up and produce active compound API, which would be used in clinical trials. So, I mean, that really, science and data, they're my roots. And then I went to business school. So really, I'm a hybrid. That's why I feel like this role at BioOx is a good fit, because it marries my two types of education and two experiences. I'm, on one hand, still a research scientist. On the other hand, I moved over to the business side of things. So I feel this is a role that complements both of those aspects of myself. And I feel what it also allows me to do is to communicate to consumer audiences so that they find science very understandable. So I feel that as, again, a privilege to really communicate and educate customers about the science.
And that's what I was gonna get to, but almost even between that is academia and business. You know, those two having to communicate with each other, I know it can sometimes be difficult. So, and with you being very fluent in both, what advice can you give people who might have those two components? Because sometimes academia doesn't think totally business, and business doesn't want to respect academia. If I'm saying that right, you can correct me.
I understand your point, because business and science can at times really speak in two different languages. And also, I feel that BioOx in particular, with our roles and responsibilities, it's a perfect balance. And I feel like I'm almost the greaser in between our CEO, our founder. He's a renowned research scientist, PhD level, worked in Nobel Prize winning lab. And then our COO, who is a very successful businessman, entrepreneur, understands how to scale businesses. And then I'm in between the two. And I feel like I can communicate with both of them, and also communicate with academia, and also on that side, because on one side you have to speak their language in regards to grants and say really showcasing showcasing the value of the science. But then also, on the other hand, what's also important, there's a point to this research, again, going back to impact, that you really showcase that this can be commercialized. This technology has a value that can really be served and scaled to the masses. So I think to communicate both from a proof of concept standpoint, and then also that this science can be commercialized and make an impact with major audiences and customer segments, I think you do have to speak both of those languages.
Sure, sure. So how have you seen either Verizon or BioOx make an impact in communities?
Well, Verizon, it's such a large company with such a strong heritage. It has a history of having a very strong network, a telecommunications network, And specifically with a lot of different innovations, say with 5G, you start seeing that expansiveness, say expanding our technology beyond just being a telecommunications company. We really identify as a tech company and using that technology in all different facets and ways. So, I mean, you'll see some of Verizon's commercials and you start seeing how 5G technology can be used, say, for operations in a virtual setting in different capacities. And then, BioOx, we use our innovation in multiple ways as well. And again, with the new products and new categories, I spoke to the air scrubber, but also a new product that we're really trying to commercialize is our water supplement. Mm-hmm. So I was mentioning before, like the fitness segment really finds that useful, but we're going to expand studies as well because even customers that had adrenal fatigue and those type of things, they find that they're very energized with it. So using our technologies in new ways and finding new segments.
And I like what you said there, because what you're really saying, and for the small businesses that are listening here, is don't just take it for face value. Your products probably have a deeper impact than you might even realize. And it can be
Absolutely.
leveraged in so many different ways that really has a bigger impact on the lives of the people that you're trying to connect with.
A lot of it, especially for BioOx being a startup, it's very bottom up. We have actually personal relationships with some of our customers, and that truly is something you can do in that type of scale. And then they tell us how, say, certain ailments are improving, and they open our eyes, and we say, all right, that's interesting to know. Then we can move forward possibly with a certain research study to see if there's a new application for it. So you really need to listen to your customers, and we even include them, say, in testimonial videos. We have something called Lexi the dog, where owner said, my dog had advanced cancer, and our product really helped curb the symptoms. So again, that bottom-up type of feedback, you really see that, especially in a startup environment where you are able to create such an intimate community. Verizon, on the other hand, especially with Verizon Up, I feel we did something very different. We were able to create a community because we utilized a loyalty platform in a new way. Because usually Verizon is seen as a commodity, but no, we actually treated it as a consumer product and created a community that way. And you'll see, like, very experiential. We have a partnership with Live Nation, and we had testimonials from those customers, and I mean, they had their own personal experience, say, attending a certain concert or a certain sports event, and you receive feedback that way. So I feel you can build community just even with varying sizes of companies, and do it in your own unique way.
Love it, love it. All right, let's focus a little on Lisa now for a second, because all right, BioOx and Verizon, y'all good. Let's focus on my girl Lisa here for a second. What are the most valuable lessons you've learned on your journey towards creating impact?
Well, I mean, I would say I've made a very mindful decision to align with companies who are innovative, who are purpose-driven, and they consider themselves challenger brands, and they incorporate that challenger mindset. And say, like, at each stage, what I was describing, I went into depth with BioOx, with Verizon, with Jaguar Land Rover, with HBO. At each stage, when I joined those companies, they were on the cusp of doing something brand new, even at some major brands where, there is more red tape. But they decided not to be complacent and enter a new category, enter a new type of service, and really enter, because of that, incorporating whole new customer segments. So
Okay.
that's what really keeps me motivated and what I'm aligned with from a career perspective.
Okay. So we may have done it, but we'll get to it when we talk about the major difference between working with well, let's actually do it. So, what do you see as the major difference between working with a startup versus working with a major brand?
It's definitely, I would say, similar to like a David and Goliath because,
Okay.
I mean, startups, I think they're innovators by nature. Really, that's the whole point is that you really want to enter a new product and service. You found this new technology and now you want to hit the ground running and you are nimble. I think that's the key. And I think also when you're at that smaller scale, you always have that day one mentality. I know that's been spoken about a lot, where you think, what is your purpose? What is your mission? And at those smaller brands, you have that. So I think that's really the mentality of the startup. But it's also a dichotomy because you want to keep that innovation, but you also want to scale. You do want to end up to be a Fortune 20 company like Verizon. That's the end goal. So I mean, there are always pros and cons in each situation. And what I was saying before was with a startup, you naturally have that innovation, but you don't have the scale. Whereas with Verizon, I would say we always try to innovate, but naturally there will always be more red tape. There will always be more stakeholders. I would say with BioOx, you can see a direct impact right away. I could create an advertisement within one day and get it out the door. That's impossible for a company like Verizon. That being said, Verizon has millions of customers, and BioOx were in that building phase. So you see your impact in different ways. I think you can take more ownership of responsibilities and have a role that's much more comprehensive and it has breadth and depth in a startup. Whereas with Verizon, you have a lot of impact again by these massive product launches, these massive impacts with products and services, and that huge customer base that you have. So it's different, but I think it's key to try personally to keep your innovative mindset and that day one mindset wherever you are as best you can do.
Sure, sure. Love it, love it. Um, when should a small business be thinking about impact and impact strategies?
I say right from day one for the fact that day one, and I think if you're doing things properly, and this is what I do see at BioOx when I joined, is that you have to define your mission. What is your brand identity? What do you stand for? So from there, from your mission and your purpose, that really defines your impact. I feel like that goal in itself is setting the stage. Then from there, you operationalize it. So you set the purpose. Everything leads back to your purpose and your mission and your goals. And then from there, again, then you develop tactics from that strategy, and that creates then those actions that then drive your impact. They operationalize it, bring it to life, commercialize it, but it starts from day one in the concept and then bring it to life as you mature as a brand, as you commercialize, and as you scale.
And I love that you said all that because again, there's a lot of really great moving parts. But I tend to see that a lot of small businesses think that they're not big enough to think that way. That's for the bigger companies. That's for specific types of companies. Like a BioOx, which does it just doesn't sound like a small business, even though it is a startup. It's type of small business. You understand?
Well, you know what? Maybe you don't change the world when you say help one customer, but you change the world for that one customer, and you can't put a price tag on that. If you really improve the overall quality of life for a patient or for a pet, that means the world you see firsthand, and you have also that personal connection where you can have direct feedback from customers and form relationships with them at a more intimate level when you're in that startup environment. So do you necessarily have the scale as of compared to a Fortune 20 company? No, but that doesn't mean you're not making an impact. You could be making extreme impact. I would say a health and wellness company, by many standards, might have a larger impact than some of these sexy media companies that I've worked for, right? Like HBO. I love HBO, right? The content is great, but you're really purpose driven, and really, for me personally as well, I was really seeking meaningful work, where you, again, going back to how you define impact. And I think cultural impacts and, again, environmental impacts, health and wellness impacts, those are truly noble. And I feel like that has really aligned with my goals in my career.
And you really hit the nail on the head there, because I think people don't realize the impact that they actually have, and they put the value somewhere else, or they're trying to create value where there is no value, at least on the behalf of the client. And at the end of the day, what is our ultimate goal? To make our clients happy,
Mhm.
satisfied, love us. And if we're doing that, that in itself should count as impact, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, because I was saying, like, even how I started, really the traditional definition of impact is from the bottom line for revenues, what are net profits, all those KPIs, even NPS, even though that's a more emotional type of KPI, but still. But there's much more to that. And you can say, like, even for, say, our grow product, I'm using an example from BioOx,
Hmm.
and you can really make an impact there on agriculture. So building stronger crops, whereas also not contaminating the soil and really improving the life of, say, that uh, farmer, that maybe it's not a massive farm, but it's serving the local community. And you can see those direct impacts wherever you look. And I think you have to expand your definition of impact, because if a company is very profitable, they might not be making a positive impact in the world. It might actually be the opposite. So, really, again, values based type of initiatives really need to align with your overall mission.
Absolutely. And you also said something a little bit earlier in regards to you seek out that, which is that transparency that a lot of younger workforce is looking for, more transparency about what does a company stand for. How does a company give back? How does a company contribute to? And all that is around impact to some degree. So,
Absolutely. I even saw it, say, with Verizon, especially during the pandemic and Verizon Up. We had whole small business initiatives. We had different, say, gift cards to support small businesses. And that really resonated with me as well, because I saw firsthand how small businesses were struggling, they were closing, and it really pulls at your heartstrings to see that. And, I saw that again on that larger scale. So, again, on both sides, you can really see impact, but it really ultimately relates to the values and the mission of the company. And I think that's key, is to really be aligned with upper management and to see who's leading the charge. And that's ultimately what led me to BioOx. I met the founder, and he was talking about innovative science and how it impacts both people and animals. And I was really, really interested in that. That's what drew me to that. Not a certain salary level, a certain title. what really drew me to that again was the overall impact. And there is that statement, I think it was by Einstein, that says, don't try to be a person of success, rather a person of value. And I think if you pursue that, ironically, I think you will wind up being successful, but you didn't chase that success. You're there because you chase the proper values.
Love it, love it. All right, so we're going to be coming close to the end. I mean, there's so much here. I'm loving this conversation, and actually, I gotta say this real quick to everybody listening. If you're wondering where I finally decided to launch this podcast, whether you're listening to it at the beginning or a year from now, you're actually staring at the first person I talked to about launching the Practice Law podcast. I was trying to figure out what this is. So again, thank you, Lisa.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being involved in the journey. This is like having a child, right? I've seen you become a father of this beautiful podcast. So
Yeah,
good to
I'm
see.
a proud dad. Don't tell my daughter that. I mean, yeah, tell her that, but tell her it's her reason. She's the reason I'm a proud dad. Anyway, what is there anything that you're most proudest of when it comes to impact?
Proudest, I mean, I think a lot of the testimonials that I've heard from customers, specifically for BioOx, because I really made it a mission after the pandemic. I've had loved ones pass away, others have had loved ones pass away, and again, speaking to the founder, he really resonated with me, all of the work that he was doing. And I want to expand upon that with these new products and categories and these new research studies. And, even when I tell friends and family about it and all the different use cases, you just see how everyone becomes so interested in the science, in this type of product and service. And I think it lends back to, again, contributing back to your community. So that's something I'm very proud of. At Verizon, Verizon Up won many awards, Loyalty 360 awards, and that's always nice to feel and see and experience that appreciation for your work and really building a new type of platform in the space. And then also at Jaguar Land Rover, being a part of launches of brand new types of products like electric vehicles and SUV and those type of things, and also a compact car that is more affordable. And, being a part of those launches have been really an opportunity of lifetime. So I feel with each brand, they really have made an impact on me personally as well.
Love it, love it. All right, so I have two more questions for you, and they are related directly to you. I always like to end the show with these two questions. So the first question is, what is your secret weapon when it comes to getting things done?
Secret weapon when trying to get things done, I think I'm a good planner. So I plan in advance. And I think that's the best thing to do because there's always going to be a curveball. So in order to be nimble and react to that, you really should have almost everything in place so you're not adding to the chaos, because you have to expect the chaos is coming. So I think my methodical, pragmatic type of approach has helped me with multiple projects and initiatives. So I would say that would be my superpower.
Yep, and I like that because, I mean, we always tout that as entrepreneurs, we just jump in and figure it out on the way down. But I think the new form, and again, so I'm just going to say my thoughts on that is the new form is there's still a level of planning that can be done.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we fail to miss that step and totally jump out of the plane without the plan, and which can sometimes land us in hot water.
I feel even a bad plan is better than no plan. And I think you can't be lost in analysis paralysis. I think you need to be a doer and you learn by doing. But, you shouldn't be mindlessly doing. And I think, again, going back to evaluating impact, and I said really it's about your mission statement, and then it translates to a strategy and tactics. I think you have to jump in feet first, but you really need to have that foundation behind you, because if not, then almost it's reverse. Then you're searching for your mission, you're searching for what is my strategy, and you just, maybe it's not cohesive. So it's good to have that foundation first and then move forward.
Absolutely, and you're 100% right. And so in essence, you can still think that you're jumping in head first, but you're not. You're jumping in head first, but based on the fact that you actually know the direction you're going in.
Right.
Which makes it a lot easier. At least one of my mentors used to say, you're enthusiastically going in the wrong direction.
And I think it's important to focus on direction is more important than speed. It's important to be in the right direction. Even if you're going slowly, again, you're building that foundation, that base, and you're going in the right direction. Whereas if you're moving forward and say you make tremendous sales and you have a fancy title and you're checking off all the boxes, but you might be going in totally the wrong direction. So say you burn out, or over time it just doesn't work out. Whereas if you're going in the right direction, you can build upon that.
Yeah, and I love that. And I did say two, but you actually combined my first and second question, so kudos to you. So we don't have to answer that second question. So this has been amazing, and I knew it was going to be. I've been anticipating this conversation with you for quite a while. Tell us, how do we connect with you? Where should we go? Of course, we're going to have some links on the replay page here. Unless you're listening to it on one of your devices, come to our website. But how should people get in touch with you? What should they be looking for as far as BioOx? Anything you can share with us?
Sure. I would say the best way to get in contact with BioOx, especially because we're a direct-to-consumer type of company, would be our website, biox.us. And from there, you'll learn more about our company, our products, our different categories. You can purchase directly online. You could speak with someone. So there's a lot of different resources there. And then you can also reach out to me directly. I'm always on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out on there as well. Okay.
Well, is there anything I hadn't touched that you wanted to say in regards to impact, in regards to anything that you think a small business might need to know? Is there any final thoughts?
Well, I think really you touched upon so many important things during our discussion. And I think some of those things could be really building a community for customers to a point where then you create brand ambassadors and you really build a brand by word of mouth. And that's truly your reputation. And I feel like that has really worked well for us at BioOx and would work well for startups, especially given that usually they have a limited budget. And you'll start seeing directly from that bottom-up type of direct communication with customers that you are forming that strong impact. So don't think if you don't have the scale of, say, a Fortune 20 company, you're not making impact. You are, and you'll see that, and you'll continue to build upon that and continue to scale.
Absolutely. I love bottom-up impact approach. Yeah, this is great. First of all, I want to thank you again for joining me. I want to thank you listeners for all listening, whether you're listening or watching the video. Again, this is the Impact Us All Business Podcast with your host here, me, Jimmy Newson, the Impact Influencer. And again, Lisa, I want to thank you for being here. Check out biox.us and let's keep making an impact, ladies and gentlemen. So, Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of another enlightening journey here on the Impact Us All Business Podcast. Every story we've shared, every insight gained, is a step towards creating a world where business becomes a beacon of positive change. Your time with us is more than just listening. It's about becoming part of a movement that values growth, innovation, and the incredible impact we can have when we come together. If you're ready to be a part of this journey every step of the way, we have 3 small favors to ask. 1, please subscribe to our podcast. It's the easiest way to ensure that you never miss an episode filled with stories and strategies that matter to you. 2, leave us a review, even if it's just 1 word. Your feedback helps us grow and continue bringing you content that inspires and empowers. And 3, rate our podcast. Your ratings help others find us, expanding our community of impactors who, just like you, want to make a difference in the world. Every step you take with us is a step towards impactful change. Your voice, your action, and your participation, it all adds up to a global movement. Let's continue to reshape the world, one business, one idea, one story at a time. Together, we can impact us all. See you in the next episode.